Percent of change. Percent of change is a ratio of the change in the amount to the original amount expressed as a percent. If the new number is greater than the original number you started with, then the percent of change is a percent of increase. If your new number is less than the original number you started with, then the percent of change is a percent of decrease. So regardless of whether it is a percent of increase or percent of decrease, the ratio of it on the fraction on top, you're always going to have the amount of change. So you take the two numbers and simply subtract the two numbers, and what you want is the difference between those two numbers. That's called the amount of change. On the bottom of your fraction will always be the original amount, the number that you started with. So let's do some examples. Determine whether the percent of change is a percent of increase or a percent of decrease. Then find the percent of change. So here we're given two numbers. Our original number that we're given here is 48. Our new number is 60. Notice that our new number is greater than the original number, which indicates that there was an increase. This change was an increase, which we call a percent of increase. So now to find that percent of increase, recall through the fraction, the top, the numerator is going to be the difference between the two numbers. In other words, you got to subtract the two numbers and find out by how much they increase. And then on the bottom is your original number. So again, to find the percent of increase, let's first find out how much it increased by. So what you have to do is simply subtract the two numbers. So there was an increase by 12. So 12 would be on top, and on bottom is your original amount, which is 48. That's going to go on the bottom. So your fraction would be 12 over 48. And then to find that percent of increase, all we need to do is convert it from a fraction to a decimal, and then from a decimal to a percent. And so building on our knowledge from previous section, to find the decimal, just top divided by the bottom. So divide top divided by the bottom, 12 divided by 48. That will give you the decimal form. And recall, to turn it into a percent, all we need to do is move 2 places. That's correct, 2 places to the right. If you said to the right, yes. 2 places to the right, and then insert our percent symbol, which is give us 25%. There was a 25% increase going from 48 to 60. John's grade on the first math test was 94. On the second test, he got a 76. What was the percent of change in John's grades to the nearest whole percent? Well, notice here that we have our original score, which was a 94. The new score, the second one, the most recent one, was a 76. So it went down. Whenever the new number is less than the original number, it indicates there was a decrease. So now we just simply need to find that percent of decrease, and recall the formula for that is on top is the difference between the two numbers, and on bottom the original number. So let's go ahead and subtract the two numbers. 94 take away 76. That's going to give me 18. So the percent of change, or how much it decreased by 18 points. So that 18 would be on top. And on bottom is the original test score, which was a 94. So now to find the percent of decrease, all we need to do is to turn the fraction into a decimal and then turn the decimal into a percent. So to first turn it into a decimal, simply top divided by the bottom, which will be 18 divided by 94. That's going to give me a decimal of 0.1914893. So we're going to round this to the nearest whole percent. So to have that percent, we need to first move our decimal places over 2 places. So from that point of where the decimal is, let's move over 2 places, and I am at 1, 2, which is going to give me 19. So you can simply drop everything behind it. So rounding it to the nearest whole percent would be his grades decreased by 19%. And now it's time to check your understanding of the concepts. So pause the video and I want you to work this problem on your own and see if you can find the answer. So the number of students at Palm Beach College Academy increased from 840 students to 910 students over a period of 3 years. So what was the percent of increase? So pause the video if you need to, and then see if the answer there is A, B, C, or D. Okay, let's see what you came up with. So if we look at our first number that we're given, it's 840. The second number, the new number, is 910. It's greater than the original number, which obviously means that, yes, it was a percent of increase. So to find that percent of increase, you'll just need to subtract these two numbers, and that whatever that produces, that will be your top number, your numerator. The bottom number will be your original number that you started with. So let's go ahead and plug those in. If you take the difference between those two numbers, it's going to be 70. On the bottom is your original amount, which is 840. Now all you need to do is just turn that fraction into a percent. So let's first divide top divided by the bottom. That's going to give you a decimal of 0.083 that goes on and on and on. We want to round that to the nearest 10th place, so just leave one number up past the decimal. So if we were to round that, yes, that rounds to 8.3% increase.